Hello, greetings and blessings, and welcome to Breathing Peace. Now, as one attendee had mentioned before we started, is this going to be one of those situations where we have to learn a bunch of busy breathing techniques and it only creates tension? And the answer to that is we are not going to do any of that. Breathing peace is about learning how to be present in your body without rules and present with your thoughts and emotions without rules. But one little rule, but it's not really a rule, it's just a hint that when you include your breathing awareness with your body awareness, with your thoughts, with your emotions, something wonderful happens. Now, that something wonderful is that you make a shift from your breathing being part of the autonomic nervous system, and it becomes part of the conscious system where change and healing and enlightenment can happen. So it's a really magical place. And what we're going to be doing is simple, but like so many simple things, we have become so busy and so fragmented. It will take a little bit of extra work to do this precisely because it is so simple. Now, one of the things that we're going to be exploring is what does it feel like? What is the texture shift? What is the sensation shift that takes place in your body? What is the shift that takes place in your body when you are conscious and when you are aware of your breathing? So, let's just prepare for this. What I want you to do with one or both hands, tune into the space immediately surrounding you. Simply imagine that you are smoothing out the space immediately around you. What you're really doing is smoothing your aura. And in smoothing out your aura, you are smoothing out your mind and your emotions. So just sweep your hand around slowly and deliberately. Smooth your field. And if you feel any tense or busy energy in the room, imagine that you are lifting that extra energy out of the room, let it dissolve in light, or let it dissolve in the earth. That is good. Okay. Now, let's explore what happens when we breathe, why it's so important to be aware of that process. For the moment, just notice what your breathing is like. No judgments. That's one of the keys here. One of the deepest techniques in doing any breathing technique, no rules and no judgment. So, notice that your breathing is doing what it's doing, and it's flowing to the extent that it flows into various parts of the body. So for the moment, just notice, where does my breath seem to go, and where does it not seem to go? Now, there's something really powerful that I want you to start to notice. When you are aware of where the breath does not go, that's something that has been suppressed on some level. You pushed it down because you did not want to be aware of it, and possibly for good reason at the time that you did that. Now, imagine what happens when a person is trying to do the old-fashioned breathing techniques, and they're counting their breathing and doing all these busy things, but they still have something that's pushed down in the subconscious, pushed down in the physical body, something they did not want to feel. So one half of their self is trying to feel and trying to breathe, and the other half is trying to push it down. So here is how you bypass that. Start to notice that throughout your body there are places where the breath goes, places where the breath does not. Now, let's do our first technique here. Notice that your breathing, if it's not going somewhere, is probably not going there for a reason. And so start to notice, where does it seem to be stagnant? And all you're going to be asked to do, all you are exploring here, you are aware of that stagnant place, that stale place somewhere within you, while breathing. That's all you're being asked to do. You are aware of that stagnant place while noticing your breathing. Now, if you're thinking that I'm going to tell you that you have to do this or that, no. For the moment, just notice the stale place, wherever that stagnant energy is within, and notice your breathing. Now, in doing this, you are doing something quite powerful and healing because you are including something that has been unconscious. Now, here's the amazing thing about healing. Healing primarily involves bringing consciousness, awareness, which is another way of saying the divine. You are bringing consciousness to something. So simply to notice that something has been stuck, to notice it and not judge it, is already initiating wonderful healing. So what then happens when you include your breathing with that? What is the value of including your breathing with that process? When you are aware of your breathing, it's no longer the autonomic nervous system. It's into the conscious system where change can happen. So you are including all at once awareness of something, even though it has been stagnant, and a conscious process of being aware of your breathing. So as I look at your auras, I'm seeing that there is a gentle softening in your space. And so it's already making a difference. Now, let's take it to the next level. Notice the tone. You might notice it as a vibe or a feeling or a light. But at first, let's just check out the tone. Is there a low pitch or a high pitch in that part of the body that seems stagnant? Just notice. And if it seems maybe there is and maybe there isn't, that's okay. Just be with the vibe as it is. Remember, don't try and interpret it. What we're doing is bypassing interpretations, and we're going to deep presence. Get a sense of that vibe, whatever it is. Now, it might be a sensation. No need to interpret it as an emotion. It's not happy and it's not sad, it's a vibe. So get a sense of that vibe in the body while breathing. Good. Now, just notice what happens. You have your body. There are certain places that seem to be a little stuck. You're noticing the general texture of it, and you are aware of your breathing. So let's look at that. You are aware of your breathing. Be aware of your breathing while quietly and gently noticing the texture in that part of the body. And here's where you are entering into deep presence. You are having a deep spiritual cosmic experience, even though, in general, it seems that you're barely doing anything at all. So let's look at this. Let's feel into it. There's a part of your body. Notice what happens to that part of the body. You are aware of your breathing, but not forcing your breathing to do anything. And as you do that, you are letting your awareness include the texture of that part of the body. Now, one of the things that healers routinely do is that they tune into things that their clients do not have labels for. The client assumes that energy is happy or sad. The client has been categorizing it in that way. The practitioner knows not to get stuck there. They are scanning the client's aura, scanning the body, and they are sensing things that do not quite fit into verbal descriptions or categories. So start to notice what happens when you are aware of your breathing and you are aware of these textures that might not be in a particular category. It seems very simple. It seems almost too simple. It's a really deep state. And here's why. And this leads to the next deeper understanding here that will put all this together. what you think of as a part of your body or a part of your mind that has a challenge of some kind, that is really layer upon layer upon layer, hundreds, thousands, infinite number of layers of experiences that form what you generally recognize as something that hurts, something you're afraid of, something you're angry at. Now, the wonderful thing is, when you practice presence in this way, you melt through the layers. You work through the layers that have built up. And you start to feel something wonderful and amazing, which is the melting of the old tied up energy, the melting of the old brittle layers. Now, you need to understand that when you melt energy through your presence, you start to feel something. The reason you have to know that you're going to feel something is that when you start to feel tingling or melting or just quirky vibrations and you don't know how to interpret them, that is not a problem. That tells you that you are doing something well. You are on the right track. Now, this kind of presence that we're speaking of here is so deep, it goes beyond ordinary categories of good, bad, happy, sad, glad, mad, and all of those things. This is the real practice of consciousness. And it goes beyond all of those types of experiences that many people think a spiritual experience is supposed to be. That is to say, when you start going through your layers of experience, you are going to discover that what you thought you were is simply a surface illusion. That doesn't mean that you're not real. You are totally real, but you are more real than you had thought. You are not simply a collection of little thoughts or feelings. You are the deep experience that this practice brings you to moment by moment. And when you experience that you can work through layer after layer after layer, at a certain point, whenever you feel tension or whatever upset is within your body or mind, you see it as an opportunity to be present with your breathing and to work through the layers. And so it becomes part of your practice. And that lets you judge yourself less. You recognize that it's all a process. So, let's look at your aura right now. What I'm seeing is that layers of the aura are looking less rigidified, seeing more flow. But I'm also seeing that since we are approaching these deeper hidden energies, the subconscious energies that you didn't want to feel, those are starting to come up. And so let's explore ways to play with those so that they can become part of your process, part of your enlightenment, rather than a problem. So what you do, just scan through your body, which is very simple. You just imagine that you are looking right through your body. Imagine that you are feeling right into your body. And it's okay if it seems that you are making it up, because you truly are. You are using your imagination. This is what healers do. So, you're scanning through, and you notice something. And remember, you don't have to be psychic, and you don't have to interpret what you find. But notice what happens when you find something and you include that you are aware of your breathing. And even if, as the breathing starts to meet with that place that might have been suppressed, even if the breathing changes, I ask you now to be present with the breathing, even if it is not entirely comfortable. Just be present with it as it is. Now let's play a few perception games, and this will actually help you. It will help you transmute energy without even trying. in that place that seems a little stuck within you, just sweep your gaze from your eyes back and forth through that place while being aware of your breathing. Sweep your gaze gently back and forth through that part of the body that seemed tight while being aware of your breathing. And that's really nice because I'm seeing a lot of patterns with people present actually melting. In some cases, the heavy energies are lifting up out of the aura and releasing. So good. Excellent. Now, let's just see what your auras are up to here. The first thing that's coming up in people's auras, maybe this is in their body, it's something like a concern that says, well, I want to bring in more energy. I want to be able to breathe in more, but there's just not enough room. There's not enough space for bringing in the new energy. And so let's look at that. Notice what happens when you become aware of any place that seems as if there's not enough energy or not enough air there. And with your energy hands, just reach in there and expand the space. Reach into that region of the body that seems as if it needs more space. And in your imagination, reach in and make more space. And as you do that, you are aware of your breathing. Now your breathing is doing what it's doing, and your breathing is automatically bringing in life energy of every description, a lot of positive vibrations. So you are tuning into a place that you thought was tight. You expanded the space. You are aware of your breathing. And I'm noticing that there's more openness in the auras, and that is good. Okay. Now, let's see what's coming up next. Next, we have some old patterns surfacing in the nervous system. There is a thought pattern that seems to accompany that. The thought pattern stuck in the nervous system is, I don't want to feel anymore. I don't want to feel troubling thoughts. I don't want to feel troubling emotions and experiences. Now, really interesting opportunity here. When there's a thought or a feeling I don't want to feel, if you let yourself be aware of your breathing while simultaneously being aware that there's something that doesn't want to feel, a really interesting healing takes place because you are not forcing anything. You are not making anything happen. So just notice those places within body and mind that are saying, oh, I don't want to feel anymore. It's too much. Just notice it. Don't make it wrong. Just notice it. And include your breathing awareness. Awareness of your breathing. So already you've made the shift. You are already perceiving at a new, clearer level of consciousness. That's good. Okay. That has released so much. If you would, with one or both energy hands, lift stagnant energy out of your space, lift it out of your aura, lift it out of the room, let it dissolve. That's good. Now, everybody is looking much brighter, and I'm noticing that people are at peace in their body as they do this. So that is definitely working. It's almost as if there's more safety. Now, let's get some equalization between the upper body, lower body. That's showing up right now. Here's how to do that. Tune into your upper body. Just notice it. And include your breathing. And tune into your lower body now. Just bring your attention to your lower body and include your breathing. just include your breathing while being aware of the lower body. And it's almost like an anchor holding a ship, so the ship does not drift away. So that's really nice. So what this tells you is that bringing your attention to your lower body is somewhat less familiar than bringing it to the upper body. But it also tells you that when you include your breathing awareness, something in your body and mind is relieved. Something in your body and mind says to itself, well, I feel pretty safe being present in my lower body. Now, how does your body and mind know that you are safe? Your body and mind figures that you are safe because you are quietly aware of your breathing. In other words, you are not in that autonomic state. You are conscious. Now that, simple though it sounds, gives the signal to the body and mind everything is okay. Now, you might wonder though, what do you do in a situation where you really do feel tense and breathing is feeling tense? That's not an okay situation, so what do you do? A good question. The way that's addressed, you include the awareness of that tense breathing. Now, that sounds like a kind of silly thing because it brings more attention to something that you don't like. But when you simply include tense breathing in your awareness with no judgment, it smooths out. And it sounds too simple to be true. So just play with it. Notice tension of any description and just be present with it and notice your breathing. Well, why is it that people get into these breathing difficulties? They get stuck in a loop because they desperately do not want to have a breathing problem. It creates a tension loop that's hard to get out of because they are trying so desperately to do so. And so here's what you do. You quietly notice where the breathing seems to be tense, and you notice it without trying to stop it. Now, if you aren't trying to stop a pattern, are there things you can do that could be useful? Yes, there are some little energy games that you can play. You can look at the size of the tense space, and you can expand it a little bit. But if you do that and it feels that you are forcing it, then you would back off and go back to something really simple, like just being present with it and just being present with your breathing, however your breathing is. Now, let's notice what's happening with that. It's actually bringing up some deeper subconscious tension energies, so that's great. Okay, so let's explore what can be done with that. Notice any tension that's present, and notice it as a texture, which means you are not trying to label it or categorize it. Just notice what seems to be there. Notice it as it is, as a texture. Now pick one little part of it, as small as a centimeter or an inch, tiny space within that. Okay. Now notice your breathing while noticing that little space. Notice that little space. That's good. Excellent. Now, notice with your attention another space, another little space, maybe near the first space that you were sensing into. You are not trying to categorize it. Just notice it and be aware of your breathing. Now that is already working. It's releasing patterns very beautifully. And what you are discovering is that the tension that you thought was there is not exactly there in the way that you thought it was. You are discovering that the layers of tension melt and release. Now what that starts to do as you practice it, you realize that what you thought was a big, huge problem or a big, huge tension place, it's really not that at all. It is a series of layers or components, and they are all changing. They're changing literally with every breath you take. So that has brought up so much energy. I must ask you once again, reach into the space around you, lift old energies, old patterns that have surfaced. It's okay if you think you're making it up. Just go through the motions of that and let yourself lift stagnant energy right out of your space. Now everybody is looking brighter, much more radiant. So now it's time to let's explore the cosmic dimension of all of these presence breathing practices. Tune into the space within you. And now that things are more clear, it's easier to find the lighter, more radiant parts of your being. Now, just to explain something, when you look at pictures of the aura in books, often it shows an outline of the physical body, then it shows layers of the aura outside the body, seemingly. And yes, there are layers of the aura outside the body, but the aura is within the body as well. So when we talk about light or consciousness or vibrations within the body, your soul is within your body. Your thoughts, your emotions, all of you is within your body and radiating all around you. So trust your imagination, trust your intuition, feel into that space within your body, and let yourself be guided or drawn to notice the light or the lightness or the expansiveness, the divinity within you. Let yourself be with that. Nice. So, what are we going to do with our breathing in connection with this? As you are gently including that inner lightness or divinity, also include your breathing. Now, the reason that's important is that typically on the planet, people hold a split between body and spirit, as if there's some kind of division or brick wall between the material plane and the spiritual plane. Now, breathing is so amazing because it neatly unifies everything. Breathing unifies all the dimensions. And breathing takes place from moment to moment. So one of the most powerful aspects of breathing and awareness of breathing is that it takes place in real time. So it takes you out of conceptual, spacey states, and it brings you right here. So notice what happens when you are aware of your lightness, those places within you that have that spark or radiance, and you are conscious of your breathing. What actually starts to happen is that you blend your physical and your non-physical in a very beautiful way, in a very harmonious way. They start to blend and unite. And when that happens, you let go of the limitation that you had been stuck in. You let go of the limitations that you are only a material being. If you have a tendency to be in your head or stuck in your soul in a way that is ungrounded, you start to unify everything in a very healthy, holistic way. So what I'm noticing as we explore this is that your radiance is getting even brighter with each moment, but it is comfortably integrated with the physical body. So one thing I'm noticing in the mental level, it's almost as if the mental level has been familiar with holding a certain level of division between your material self and your non-material self. So as you are aware of your breathing and as you are aware of your light, tune in to this affirmation. It is safe and natural for me to be a multi-dimensional being. It is safe and natural for me to be a multi-dimensional being. there's still some interesting resistance there showing up, and seems to be coming from levels of the emotions and the mind. Those levels wanted to protect you, seemingly, from bothersome thoughts and emotions, and those levels of self wanted to protect you by fragmenting you. And so we're busting that game rather quickly. So let's see what we can do here. Breathe into your feet. And the reason for breathing into feet is that it symbolizes grounding. It's the lowest part of your body. It's very close to the planet. So breathe into your feet. Be aware of your breathing. Now, as you do that, say the words, "It is safe for me to feel this sensation." It is safe for me to feel this sensation. Good. Now, what you just said is a very potent concept. The reason being, if you can feel a sensation, that means that you can basically feel the underlying energetic structure of any thought or any feeling. So being able to feel a vibe, feel a sensation while breathing, that lets you start to effectively be your own therapist, because there are all kinds of things that are going to be surfacing on any given day, and there are all kinds of things that might not fit into the category of obvious problem. But if you can bypass needing to categorize it, if you can just be present with it as it is, if you can let it be what it is while being aware of your breathing, it actually starts to melt and release. So notice what happens right now. Now there are some deeper emotional and thought patterns surfacing. Now here's the interesting thing about thoughts and emotions. At the basic level, they are textures of experience. So if you could breathe and be aware of that texture without making it bad or wrong, just breathe, be aware of your breathing, and be aware of some texture. You might not like it, but that's okay. You might not like the texture, but just be aware of it and breathe, and there's a really interesting shift starting to take place. Because now you are not in resistance to it. You are melting the layers of that experience, whatever it may be. Good. Okay. Excellent. Now, lift those energies that surfaced right out of the workspace. Good. Now, we are going to explore working with the very particular things that have been affecting you. These are things from your timeline. We're going to leave out past lives for the moment, so we're just going to assume that we're talking about the aspect of the timeline that involves this lifetime. Now, in everybody's experience, there are particular situations that bothered you. Maybe they made you angry, maybe they made you scared or sad. Whatever they were, I guarantee you are holding those if you have not significantly released them or processed them somehow. And I guarantee as well, they are affecting your breathing. So we are going to use a healing style that is so gentle and so easy. It simply requires that you be present on a number of levels, and this we will do step by step. Just pick a particular situation or incident. Could be a mild one or less mild one. Just bring it to mind. Yes. And be aware of your breathing. Now, notice that in thinking about something that has bothered you, it might seem to change your breathing style. But remember, you are not judging that. You are now, in the new way, simply noticing your breathing. So, what do you do if, for example, if you think about something that made you sad or mad, if you notice that your rib cage tightens a bit? Well, what has been happening at a subconscious level is that there is a fight between the part that wants to breathe more and the part that wants to suppress. So we are bypassing that. Simply notice your breathing as it is in that part of the body, but without trying to change it and without making it wrong. And you could even say this affirmation: my breathing in that part of the body is okay. My breathing in that part of the body is safe and okay. Good. That works. Now, start to notice the texture or the sensation in your body, the texture or the sensation, wherever you happen to notice it, regarding that particular incident. Now, as you breathe, affirm, this texture is okay. This texture is okay. Good. Now, as the texture starts to melt, it might feel nice or it might simply feel strange. It wouldn't be unusual if it did feel strange. In fact, that means that the layer is melting. Something that you thought you had to suppress, is now melting. So let it do that. But then, of course, you had wanted to feel great, but probably not yet time for that because the next layer is surfacing. Now, when the next layer surfaces, this is from a deeper level of the subconscious, so it might seem stranger or scarier, but it's really just a texture or a sensation of energy. So be aware of the next layer surfacing, and of course, be aware of your breathing. Be aware of your breathing while being aware of that next level surfacing. That's nice. You are melting a lot of patterns. Now, as layers surface, simply notice them. Now, remember how powerful this is. Right now, I'm guiding you through it. I want you to get the sense of what's happening. Get a sense that this is easy, but there is a system to it. You are choosing to be aware of the layer of experience, whatever that sensation is. You are not judging it. You notice it, you let the sensation be okay, and you include your breathing awareness. You are aware of your breathing. Now, sometimes when a big old pattern surfaces, a big pattern of tension surfaces, the reactive mind suddenly says, oh, I must be doing it wrong. No, if a big bad pattern surfaces, you're doing it right. The amazing thing, if something tight or frightening or scary or whatever surfaces, if you say to it, it's okay for this to surface, there's no resistance. So get used to speaking in that way. Say these words several times as you tune into your body. It's okay for this sensation to surface. It's okay for this sensation to surface. And notice your breathing. And say this affirmation: I let myself breathe as I feel this sensation. I let myself breathe as I feel this sensation. Beautiful. You are releasing deep, heavy energies. The patterns are finding no resistance, excellent releases are happening. Yes. Now let's see what's ready to be explored right now. Some interesting questions about, well, what do we do about this whole idea of positive affirmations? Positive affirmations are one of those techniques that have a lot of potential, but which in New Age consciousness have tended in a way to limit people. And the reason for that, when a person is focused on a positive affirmation but is not willing to be present with sensations as they actually are, they tend to fragment themselves even more. And they tend to push what they don't like even deeper. So, there is a safe, appropriate way to use affirmations in this work, and so let's play with those techniques right now. Suppose there's something in your timeline, something that perturbed you, and you know that it has affected you, and probably you have pushed some things down. How do you bring positive affirmations into that experience? One way is to, as mentioned, be present with your breathing and be present with the deeper levels that you find. But how do you bring the positive affirmation in there? You start by doing a positive affirmation that honors that you are finding levels of feeling or levels of something. So here are some ones that we can play with right now. As you think of that particular incident, whatever it might be, and you notice whatever comes up within you, just say the words, "It is safe for me to notice this." It is safe for me to notice this. Now, be aware of your breathing as you notice that you are noticing, and just affirm, "It is safe for me to breathe as I notice those sensations." It is safe for me to breathe as I notice those sensations. That did some nice work. I see a certain kind of tension that was present in people's brains, tension released. So there's something about affirming that you can be present, you can breathe, even amidst a certain sensation. And it makes sense that it would release the tension because you had the rule that you could not feel. You could not be aware of these levels. Now, what if you want to bring a specific positive in? Let's try that. Find part of the body holding some tension regarding a certain incident and get a sense, what is the missing vibration? For example, if you're feeling sad, maybe the missing vibration is happiness, but we want to address that in a way that does not force it. So let's try something. And to use another example, if you're stuck in being angry about something, missing energy might be forgiving. And if you were afraid of something, the missing energy might be strength or boldness or courage. So get a sense of what's missing, but be aware of your breathing, and without trying to make whatever you feel wrong, just start to breathe into that area and say, "I allow the vibration of," and here you mention the positive vibration, "I allow this positive vibration to be present here. I allow this positive vibration to be present here." And notice, you are not pushing, you are not forcing, you are not making it happen. You are allowing something to be present, and you are aware of your breathing. Good. Excellent. That released a lot of stagnant vibrations. released a lot of stagnant energy, lift it out of the room, lift it into light, or place it into the center of the earth, let it dissolve. That's good. Okay. Now, we are going to explore body systems, the bones, the muscles, the nerves, the blood, and so forth. Now, the amazing thing about your consciousness, when you intend to bring your attention to a body system, your body and mind know exactly what to do. So, another amazing fact is that when you tune into a body system and you are present with it, if you include your breathing awareness, you are magically including a new level of life energy and consciousness that the breathing automatically brings into that body system. Let's start with the bones. Tune into your skeleton and remember that the skeleton is alive. It is somewhat flexible. It is filled with blood. It is part of the living system, so it's part of the bloodstream. There are nerves that are connected to the bones. So the bones are alive, and you are feeling into them. So tune into that. Your consciousness is flowing into your skeletal system while you are conscious of your breathing. Now, this is enjoyable to watch on the inner plane as you do that, because there is a beautiful fluidity and flexibility that manifests in your skeletal system when you let yourself be aware of your breathing. Without even trying, your inclusion of breathing awareness and combining it with skeletal awareness gives you fluidity. Now, if there's any place where you really need more flexibility, if there's a place that you happen to know in your skeletal system really needs to be more fluid, more flexible, more free and clear, tune in to that place and include your breathing. Tune into that place and include your breathing. That's good. Now, you might wonder, well, what if as you sense into that place, you really do sense blockage or tension or something? Now, here's the amazing thing about breathing awareness. Just as when you were working with emotional or thoughts, when you were working with those other issues, you knew that it was layers and you let yourself go through the layers. So, when you are breathing into your skeletal system, even a place that you know there's some tension there or even a challenge of some kind, that is composed of layers of energy because everything is. You feel into it and you allow your breathing to be there. Let yourself affirm as you feel whatever's there. I bless this place. I bless this place within me. Now, the fact that you're blessing it means that you're no longer stuck in reaction to it. You're no longer stuck in judgment or fear. You're blessing it, and you, of course, let yourself be aware of your breathing. So you include your breathing. That works. That is good. Excellent. Let's tune into the bloodstream. Be aware of your breathing. Tuning into the bloodstream. Of course, the texture of the bloodstream is more fluid and more flexible than the bones. There is a characteristic feel to every aspect of the body. So, aware of bloodstream, and you include your breathing awareness. That makes everybody look really bubbly and light. And if you're wondering, well, how could it do that with something so simple as simply including breathing awareness and combining that with bloodstream awareness? It happens because you're doing it in a new way that lets you bring consciousness to this system. Now, let's tune into the nerves. Now, you don't have to know exactly what the nerves look like. You've probably seen an illustration in a book of anatomy, and you have a general sense of nerves running through your body. It's all you need to do this. Have that awareness. Include that in your consciousness. Include in your consciousness. It's almost as if your consciousness is gently extending into your nervous system. Good. And of course, you are including your breathing awareness as you gently extend into the nervous system. Now, if you find any tension, and frankly, trapped thought energy often gets stuck in the nerves. There's some kind of connection or resonance between the nervous system and the thought processes. Just breathe into those places. Include your breathing awareness. Feel into any tension places in the nervous system. Be aware of your breathing. And affirm, I safely bring my breath here. I safely bring my breath here. That's nice. Now tune in to your muscles. Tune into the muscular system. You don't have to have the details. Just feel into it. Get a general sense of it. Let your consciousness extend into your muscles. And now include your breathing. If you feel sore places, if you feel tension places, let yourself breathe, but you are not pushing anything. You are not forcing anything. You are simply letting yourself breathe while noticing certain tension places in the muscular system. Now, if your mind wants to have a goal, if you have a goal that you want to clear out the soreness or tension, that's fine as long as your mind doesn't start to get pushy. So explore any tension places in the muscular system and keep the goal really simple, such as melt through the surface layer of tension. That way you're not trying to force all the tension to go away immediately, because that would produce a reaction or resistance. So notice a layer. Keep it simple. A surface layer of tension. Include that in your consciousness. Include it in the consciousness. Include your breathing. That's good. Excellent. Now to the next deeper layer. When I say the next deeper layer, it actually becomes the next layer on the surface. So the surface layer melted, and then you get the next layer surfacing. Be aware of that. Include that in your consciousness. Include your breathing. Yes. Very nice. Okay. Good. Lift stagnant energy out of the room. Very nice. Okay. Give your aura more space. Everybody looks very peaceful in their body. Imagine that your aura is somewhat bigger. And be aware of your breathing as you let your aura get somewhat bigger. Good. Now, tune in to a goal that you have. Maybe a big goal, maybe a small goal. Tune into a goal that you have, something that you're expecting to happen in the future. Now, let's just explore. Notice what happens. Tune into that goal and imagine that you can step into that reality. And notice your breathing. And remember, your breathing is what it is. Your breathing does what it does. So don't let your mind try and force your breathing to be a certain way that you think is successful breathing. Just step into that goal. Notice your breathing. And here's the important thing. When you explore what that goal is like, notice little things, little details, and include your breathing. Simply let your breathing be part of that experience. What that is doing is releasing the drama. It's releasing the excitement. It's bringing an important quality to this goal, which is the quality of mundane life, basic presence in life, because the things that you have already attained, you take for granted. And so when you have a goal, if you can bring a little bit of mundane consciousness to it so that it feels as real life, it's a good thing. Good. Now, let's look at your aura. There's a thought process surfacing that says, this is too easy. Let's try this affirmation. I am at peace with this goal. I am at peace with this goal. My life is at peace with every breath I take. Now, I want to mention an important principle before we close for the evening. The principle is, when you tune into something that you consider important or positive, and when you think that tuning into that somehow means that you cannot be aware of problems. Some people in metaphysical study actually have this concern. They think, okay, I'm a spiritual person on a spiritual path, so from now on it's only positive for me, and I am not going to get stuck in any negativity. And yet, everything you discovered over the last hour is that when you let yourself honestly be aware of tension, or honestly be aware of anything coming up, if you let yourself be present with it, it starts to release, it starts to melt. And you also discover that everything is in multi-layers. So that means that the idea of only being positive and avoiding negative means that you really can't be present very much at all. So, being on a spiritual path, being on a positive path, you are definitely allowed to be aware of whatever the heavy energies are. And as you have discovered, when you let yourself breathe as you are aware of them, simply letting yourself be aware of your breathing without judging the energies actually start to melt. And if you want to bring in some gentle affirmations, you do so not as a way of forcing out the bad and not as a way of trying to replace it instantly, but you bring in the positives as a way of gently including them. You could think of it as a more friendly, loving, inclusive technique. So, closing thought for the evening, and let's tune into this. Get a sense that you are in your body and you are aware of your breathing. And beneath your feet is the earth. Just let it be there. Still aware of your breathing. All around you to infinity, the cosmic presence of the infinite divine universe. Just notice it. Be aware of your breathing. Realize that awareness of your breathing is something that you can use when you are aware of cosmic things. But it's also something you can use to help you through mundane things of daily life. So breath awareness has this amazing multifaceted capacity to be present with you to help you stay integrated when you are releasing challenging emotions. But it also helps you to be integrated and to be present when you are considering metaphysical matters such as the vastness of the universe or the divinity of the cosmos or your essential nature or higher principles like love or wisdom or higher consciousness in any form or description. So let your breathing be there in that non-forced way. And you can experience that being a spiritual person, being on a spiritual path, can be safe and grounded and centered and integrated and natural. And with that, I wish you infinite blessings. Infinite blessings on every level. Thank you, thank you, thank you.